The snow had been falling since midnight, turning the streets into a quiet white promise. Daniel Mercer woke before dawn on Christmas morning, the way he always did, because worry had trained his body better than any alarm clock. The house was cold, the heater having given up sometime in November, and the walls whispered with every gust of wind. He lay still for a moment, listening to his daughter Lily's soft breathing from the next room, counting it like a blessing he was afraid to lose. On the kitchen table sat his wallet open, the final proof of the year he'd survived. $18 in wrinkled bills. Rent was late, the power company had left another warning, and the grocery shelves were almost bare. Still, Daniel smiled, because Lily had believed him when he said Christmas would be special, and a single dad learned early how dangerous belief could be. Later that morning, bundled in his old coat, Daniel walked to the corner store to buy milk and bread. That was when he saw the man. He stood near the bus stop, shivering, shoes split at the seams, eyes empty in the way Daniel recognized from the mirror on bad days. The stranger asked for nothing, just stared at the ground, pride and hunger locked in a quiet war. Daniel felt the familiar argument rise in his chest. You can't help, you barely have enough. Then he thought of Lily, asleep under thin blankets, trusting him without question. He walked past, then stopped, turned back, pulled out the last of his money and pressed it into the stranger's hand. "Merry Christmas," he said, his voice steady even as fear clawed at his ribs. The man looked up, stunned, and for a moment something fierce and grateful flashed in his eyes. He tried to speak, but Daniel was already walking away, heart pounding, wondering how generosity could feel so much like jumping off a cliff. Christmas afternoon passed quietly. Lily loved the single gift he'd wrapped, an old book from a thrift store, because he read it to her with voices and laughter that made the walls feel warmer. That night, after she fell asleep, Daniel sat alone, calculating impossible numbers, bracing himself for January. Just before dawn, the sound came, engines, low, powerful, synchronized. He looked out the window and froze. 5 black SUV rolled to a stop in front of his house, their dark shapes swallowing the street. Doors opened. Men in tailored coats stepped out, scanning the area, calm and precise. Panic hit hard and fast. Had he done something wrong? Had kindness finally cost him everything? A knock echoed through the house, heavy and deliberate. Daniel opened the door with shaking hands. The man from the bus stop stood there, transformed, clean, shaven, sharp-eyed, wrapped in a coat worth more than the house itself. He smiled, not the fragile smile from yesterday, but one filled with certainty. He explained who he was without boasting, how he had stepped away from his life for one day to remember what it felt like to be invisible, how he had watched 100 people pass him by. Daniel had been the only one to stop, the only one to give without asking anything back. The stranger told him the $18 had meant more than money. It had meant dignity, faith, proof that the world still had room for mercy. Before Daniel could speak, papers were placed in his hands, the house was paid off, a trust was set up for Lily's future. A job offer, flexible, meaningful, waiting whenever Daniel was ready. The SUV, the security, the power, all of it existed to protect an empire built on influence. But this morning, it bowed to a simple act of kindness. As the convoy pulled away and the street returned to silence, Daniel stood in the doorway, tears freezing on his cheeks, understanding something he would carry forever, that even when you have almost nothing, the courage to give can change everything.